BTW, FYI. Visit Nexplanon.com RN to learn about Nexplanon. It's an gestural implant, 68 milligrams radiopaque. Or ask your HCP IRL. Okay, TTYL.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Commercial Insurance. Business owners, meet Progressive Insurance. They make it easy to get discounts on commercial auto insurance and find coverages to grow with your business. Quote in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliated and third-party insurers. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.
This is the Cats Roundtable with John Catsimatidis.
Everywhere around the world, they come into America. Every time that flag's unfurled, they come into America.
Good morning, New York. This is the Cats Roundtable. John Catsimatidis here. With us today is Charlie Gasparino, and Charlie is going to be telling us about what the heck is going on in New York. Governor David Paterson, like every Sunday. Kathy Wild, she's the head of the partnership of the city in New York, and she's on the transition committee. We have John Terrett on how the markets are doing, Steve Cates on what's going on up in the skies, Rabbi Mark Schneier, how is the Jewish community going to fare in the socialist world of Zoran Mondami? Norman Seabrook, how are the unions going to fare in the socialist world of Mondami? And we'll start off the show like every Sunday with Michael Stoller in the real estate industry.
Good morning. This is Mike Stoller for the Stoller Real Estate Report. Things are looking up in the office market. Very positive moves are being seen. Owners are adjusting and gaining new tenants. So what's really happening in the New York and the national office market? I have Andrew Weiner, who's the head of commercial real estate leasing at the File Organization. Andrew, thanks for being here.
Thanks for being here, Michael.
Okay, so tell me what the File Organization is and what are you doing these days?
So File has 25 million square feet spread across commercial buildings, retail stores, which are indoor malls, Chicago and New Orleans, and then strip centers in Long Island. And Tampa also has 5,000 residential units and also some industrial products.
So let's talk about your area of expertise, which is the office market, and let's talk a little bit about New York specific and then Long Island.
Great.
So what's happening?
The momentum is picking up, which is great. The activity has been robust. We're going to have New York City specifically will have the highest leasing volume it's had since pre-COVID, which is certainly phenomenal. Certainly the market's been bifurcated for the last few years versus, A and A-plus property versus B, which is typically what File owns and has historically owned. And the B market has picked up over the last 2 years, and you're seeing increased momentum, velocity. Concessions are still very high. It's still expensive to build space, but tenants are making long-term decisions, which is great because term is key to financing for the office buildings. So we've seen increased activity across the board. Last year, we leased 1 million square feet, which was a record in New York City for File, and this year we're on pace to beat that.
Oh, that's great. And what about your leasing in Long Island?
Leasing in Long Island has been phenomenal, specifically because we own a few well-located buildings. And what didn't... Would you call them B or B-plus buildings? I would call them... Most of the buildings in Long Island are B-plus. There's probably only a few that we would call A properties. Each one of these buildings, we reinvested capital into with new lobbies, elevators, etc. Curb appeal is a very big thing on Long Island. The most important thing I would say for office tenants is the ability for landlords to close transactions and fund TI. So while that was a big issue in New York City post-COVID, those capital stacks really got cleared up pretty quickly and are almost all cleared up. On Long Island, it's different because there's just not so much demand on the institutional side and the owner side. We're able to fund deals. So we've done a few 100,000 feet in the last year and a half on Long Island 1305 Walt Whitman is a building that's now almost 100% leased. 395 North Service Road, we're almost 100% leased. We've got activity on our remaining big block. And then 100 Quentin, which is in Garden City, we've seen massive increased activity given the new lobby, the new elevators, the capital program.
What type of tenant improvements are you giving?
So it's a little bit cheaper to build on Long Island, but anywhere from $70 to $110 to build out tenant spaces. You're typically capping at $70 a foot, which is high for Long Island, but we're then getting a mid-30s rent, which is also high for Long Island.
What was it before?
High 20s in base rent and probably $50 a foot for a build-out.
Now, we were talking the other day, I think it was with regard to Long Island and also in New York City. Lawyers are taking more space. Tell me about that.
Yeah, the activity that we have on Long Island are with accountants and law firms expanding. So they want to have some presence or a larger presence on Long Island for lawyers who are going to come into the city but also want to have exposure to having a shorter commute. And then in the city, you're seeing larger law firms continue to expand as some of the smaller firms that didn't expand post-COVID are getting eaten up by the bigger firms.
Okay, that's the law firms. What about the accounting firms?
Yeah, we did a 20,000 square foot lease at 395 with Anderson Tax. We're talking to two other large accounting firms right now on the island, and we're effectively one of only a handful of options, again, because we could fund. So one of the larger accounting groups we're talking to is about 45,000 feet, which is an extraordinary large tenant for Long Island.
Oh, no question about it. So what's happening? You own a lot of properties on Park Avenue South. Let's talk about Park Avenue South, and then we'll discuss other areas.
Yeah, so 251, 250, and 257, which are the corners on 20th to 21st and Park South. Two of those buildings are 100% leased now. At 250 Park South, we leased 50,000 feet this year. The Criterion Collection leased floors 2, 3, and 4, which was a long-term lease. That brought us to 100%, and we're negotiating on floors that are not available yet, but we know will be available in the next, call it 12 months. 251 was a redevelopment done prior to COVID where Herman Miller leases majority of the building, 75%. 257, we leased 3 floors, 40,000 feet to Phipps Houses on a 30-year lease structure.
Would you explain to my audience the 30-year structure?
Yeah. So effectively, there's a loophole in the real estate tax code where if a nonprofit signs a 30-year leasehold condo, it effectively separates those floors from the real estate tax base of the building. The tenant doesn't pay taxes. The landlord doesn't pay real estate taxes. And the tenant gets the beneficial of a lower rent, and the landlord gets the benefit of not having to pay the taxes.
I'm happy that with regard to a person, I'm happy the File Organization has a good operator in Andrew Weiner. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
The Cats Roundtable.
With us today is Catherine Wild, and she is the Chief Executive and CEO of the New York City Partnership. But she is retiring, but she is now on a transition team of the new Mayor-elect Mondami. And, well, Kathy Wild, tell us what the heck is going on in New York.
John, yes, I am one of 400 volunteers on the transition team. I was pleased to be included, and there were a number of other business representatives included. And I think that should make people feel good that business has a seat at the table, both large business and small business. Lisa Soren, the president of the Bronx Chamber of Commerce, is on it. Julie Samuels from NYC Tech. So Andrew Ridgey, who is head of the Restaurant Hospitality Association. So we feel well represented on the team that is going to be helping them both make appointments and policy making.
When you talk to your fellow people that are on a transition team, what are the important things to you? I mean, one of the things we talked about when we had the WABC Roundtable was, I think, number one was quality of life.
Absolutely. Quality of life is essential. And there were some pieces of the campaign that I think are going to carry over in the policies of the transition team, like getting rid of those scaffolds, the sheds on the sidewalks. There are thousands of them all over New York City, which are dark and dangerous and smell like somebody just urinated in them. And so, and that's been a priority of the mayor-elect. So I'm hoping that that's just one example of some of the quality of life issues that we're going to tackle. And obviously, public safety remains top of mind. And I was glad to see there was a safe Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade yesterday. And we're delighted that Jesse Tisch is on the case.
Well, we're all happy that Jesse Tisch is on the case. We're all happy you're on a transition board. Now, the other concern was that do we believe that we have control of the situation on the NYPD, where he has said publicly that he wants to get rid of the strategic task force, which actually saved that synagogue with Rabbi Schneier last week or the week before.
Well, I think that we can put our trust and our faith in Jesse Tisch. I think she will work closely with the new mayor, and where something is important, if she feels that it's got to stay, my guess is he's going to support her. I don't see how he can do otherwise after he has earned a lot of points for reappointing her.
Well, we have checks and balances in place. We have Governor Hochul, and we'd like to hear from her. We have President Trump that we hear from often, and he has the big checkbook. We have a balance of power in the city council, it looks like, from Julie Menem.
Yes, Julie Menem, the councilwoman from the Upper East Side, appears to have the votes to become the next Speaker of the City Council. And Julie will be a terrific advocate on quality of life issues, on consumer issues and affordability. You know, she was also the Commissioner of Consumer Affairs for the city. So she has a long history of supporting the affordability agenda and watching out for New Yorkers who are suffering from trying to keep up with the high cost of living in the city. So I think that'll be a very good partner and balance for the new mayor.
Now, the other concern, is that he has the right to pick the criminal judges in our city, and Judge Weinberg that sits in with our company and a longtime New Yorker is concerned that he's going to pick criminal justices that's going to let everybody out. I mean, he gives the example of that woman that was set on fire in Chicago last week, and the judge let the criminal go.
Well, I think we've, in general, been disappointed with elected judges. I don't see how he could do much worse. I go into the ballot and want to vote for somebody, and the same name is on the Republican, Democrat, and conservative line. I don't think we pay enough attention to who our judges are. Period. It's nothing new. So I think it's great that Judge Weinberg and you and others are going to focus on who are our judges, not only in criminal court. You know, we also have a business court that's very important to keeping business here. And we want to make sure the commercial court has great judges on it as well. So let's pay attention to that. That's a good agenda item, John.
Well, Kathy Wild, thank you for everything you're doing. Just because you're retiring from the partnership, I hope you stay involved in New York City, because you love New York City like we all do, and we need you.
I plan to stay involved, and I tell people I feel like I'm going to my own funeral. Everybody is being very nice to me, but I'm not dying. I'll be around.
Thank you so much, and God bless you, and God bless New York, because we need God's blessing on this one.
Thank you, John, and I look forward this week to the lighting of the Christmas tree at Rockefeller Center with Rob Spire and the team.
I will be there. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to the Cats Roundtable. We'll be right back right after this break.
It's easy to get stuck reaching for the same familiar fruits and vegetables, even when you know a colorful variety is key. Balance of Nature's fruits and veggie supplements don't replace fruits and vegetables, but it makes it easy to add more variety to what you already eat. With 31 ingredients that are whole fruits and vegetables, switching it up is easy because we've already taken care of the hard part. Go to balanceofnature.com and get a free fiber and spice supplement, plus 35% off your first set as a new preferred customer by using discount code POD.
BTW FYI. Visit Nexplanon.com RN to learn about Nexplanon. It's an adjustable implant, 68 milligrams radio paid. Or ask your HCP IRL. Okay, TTYL.
Transform your home during Blinds.com's Cyber Monday Super Sale. Get up to 50% off site-wide, plus huge doorbuster deals on popular styles. Go DIY and do it all 100% online, or choose white glove service with expert design help and professional installation. Both backed by Blinds.com's 100% satisfaction guarantee. Blinds.com's Cyber Monday Super Sale is here. Save up to 50% site-wide and get a free professional measure. Limited time offer, rules and restrictions apply. See Blinds.com for details.
Welcome back to the Cats Roundtable. Well, like every Sunday, we have Governor David Paterson. On Friday, we were together for 4 hours, and we talked about Black Friday and how does that affect black people. and we had a little bit of fun, but the 4 hours went pretty fast. Governor, Sunday morning now, what do you want to talk about?
Well, I thought it was fun that on Friday, when we did the intros, we had all black singers for Black Friday. But honestly, John, over the weekend, I just can't let go of the pain hearing that the officer, the woman, first name is Sarah. I'm blanking on her last name right now. But she was shot along with her colleague in Washington and didn't survive. President Trump made that announcement late Thursday night, and it's haunted me ever since. And how this individual came here in 2021 from Afghanistan, well, you could kind of understand that because a lot of people are fleeing Afghanistan, but he had some type of relationship with the United States, whether it was the Army or the CIA or something.
Well, supposedly he was working for the CIA, and supposedly he was part of the assassination team in the CIA, which we opened up our discussion with James Flippin on Friday morning. Does that mean somebody, I said my opinion, that somebody paid him $50,000 to create a stir and take out those National Guard people?
Well, it literally was almost a suicide mission because he was in Seattle, Washington. He got asylum to this country about 3 months ago, and then suddenly flies to the nation's capital and walks up on what is considered in that area like the nicest place to be. Where you'd go and sit, where you'd take your kids to the park and that kind of thing, and opens fire on these police officers. This guy must have believed that he wouldn't get out of there because within a minute there were 10 police officers around him. Somehow they didn't kill him, but it just goes to show you right now that we've just got to be scrupulously careful about everything we do, and particularly the leadership, which is why I can understand that President Trump wants to tighten up the immigration laws right now because we're having these types of problems.
What do we do to rectify this? I mean, President Trump all of a sudden has said he's going to minimize immigration from these third world countries where they don't have information on people.
Well, I think that what will actually happen is that there will just be a far greater effort to try to find out who these people are. And it's very hard to figure out who people are when they're coming from another country. It's not like you can call up their workplace where they were before and ask questions about them. You have no idea whether or not they have criminal records. You have no idea about what their family situation is. And I think that's why he's taking this action. And I don't hear anybody arguing against that, particularly in the light of what happened in the past few days.
What else? I mean, tomorrow is December 1st.
It sure
I mean,
is.
I can't believe 2025 is gone.
Flying right by.
I did. I mean, give us a pulse of what do you think Christmas is going to be like, or whatever.
Well, I read a poll the other day, John, that 46% of Americans who were polled think that we will be in a world war in the next 10 years, that it will happen. And 37% believe we would not be in a world war. 57% of Democrats were believing that there would be a war. Only 37% of Republicans think that way. But all of those numbers are rather significant, that I think that the human pulse is speeding up these days because people are fearful of a number of things happening, particularly when they see these dramatic events, such as the one we just talked about. And I'm wondering, what do we do to restore faith in the men and women and the children that live in this country, where they are, a third of them think that within a decade we're going to be in a military crisis?
And I'll tell you, though, but President Trump has been a person of peace. He has solved more wars in his 8 months, 9 months with being in office again than ever before. And now the only war left is, I guess, Ukraine and Russia.
Well, you know, it certainly looked at the beginning of this weekend, last Thursday and Friday, that that Putin was ready to sign on to the agreement. But over the weekend, it looks like he's changed his mind. President Trump is still working on that. He created peace between two African countries who've been fighting for the last 30 years. So you got to give him credit for that. And for him himself, right now, he's playing with the house's money. Things are working very well, and he's being supported. However, when we look into the future, I think he is himself taking some of these approaches because I think he fears that there could be an international calamity. If there's one thing he might do, it might be start attacking drug outfits in Venezuela. And on
well,
land.
He has
right
said that. He said that the other day on Friday. He said that the fact is that not only is he shooting down those boats that are headed for United States and with enough drugs to kill thousands of Americans, he's going to go on the ground in Venezuela and get rid of the drugs.
Yes. Now, John, I got a question for you. I really think that one of the real downfalls for American society was the infiltration of drugs, I'd say, in the 60s and 70s. In addition...
After Vietnam was the big item.
And also the Vietnam War. Why is it that none of the administrations, even including President Reagan, really decided to go after these drug dealers? Everybody knows where it all starts. But it's amazing that 40-something years went by before President Trump has decided to go right at the problem.
The truth, I don't know.
John, you're hurting my feelings. I thought you always know.
Is it called political contributions?
I guess it could be, but
what do you think it's called?
Well, what I think is that people, even in the highest levels of government, sometimes lack imagination. They'll think about doing things, but they would never do them. I think what all President Trump did was take what everybody knew and acting on it. It's actually not that hard once you realize how dangerous drugs are to this country. It destroyed one whole generation, the baby boomers, the one I was in, and I think that really it was just that nobody ever thought to actually try to execute it at that time. Maybe the people who were in office didn't feel it was going to help them politically.
Governor David Paterson, thank you so much, and I hope you have a great rest of the weekend.
Well, John, I hope you all enjoyed Thanksgiving dinner over at the Katz-Matidis house, and we'll talk next Sunday.
The Katz Roundtable.
With us today is Norman Seabrook, and a union leader for over 20 years. And, Norman, happy Thanksgiving weekend. And give us your opinion from the union point of view on where the heck are we with this healthcare stuff?
Well, good morning, Sunday morning to you, John, and to you and the listeners. And I think that it's important that people put this whole healthcare thing in perspective. The healthcare system that was designed was actually designed to be able to help those that were less fortunate and didn't have healthcare. Union leaders, municipal workers in different organizations have health care. When they join the agencies, they get dental, optical, prescription, they get GHI, they get Emblem, they get all these different health cares, and they pay X amount of dollars per check every time they get paid. Of course, they pay into their health care. And they are allowed to have their wife, significant other, dependents, all on their health care program until they reach a certain age or until the person retires. This child that goes to school, let's say, is 25 years old, they're still in college, they're still eligible to receive this health care benefit. What I'm suggesting is to offset the cost for individuals that don't have health care, that they be allowed to join and continue the payments that are necessary in the healthcare industry for the municipal worker all the way through. So, okay, let's say the kid falls off at the age of 26, 25. Now they have to get their own health care. Why not have that same contribution that's made be in addition to the contributions that's already made? That way, their healthcare system is under control as opposed to going out here and trying to purchase something else. You know, we've heard all the stories about individuals that have different companies and different insurances that pay $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month for health care coverage for their family of 4 or family of 5, but yet they never use this health care. They're paying all of these money. They're paying $300,000 a year, $200,000 a year, and never use the product. At the end of the day, the young people don't use the product as much, and I think that it's important to give them another avenue. In giving them another avenue, you have to partner with the municipalities of the city or the state of New York and say, okay, allow this person to continue to pay the same amount of money in addition to what the member is paying, and allow them to stay on this health care until a certain amount of age, 40, 50, whatever the number is. But that eliminates the thousands of dollars that the Obamacare is trying to strangle people with.
Now, I mean, one of the things we got along with on Pete Sessions, his proposal in Congress was, if Obamacare is good for you, keep it. And if there's another health care program that's good for you, you're allowed to take it instead of just being a prisoner of Obamacare. And so what is your proposal then?
To keep it as simple as we can, allow an individual that already has health care, that's already covered, whether it be the United Workers, the United Auto Workers, the Teamsters, whatever it is that has their dependents. Each person has a certain amount of dependence on their coverage when they become a member of one of these organizations. Allow that person to have their dependent join in with them and stop cutting them off. And then that way, that is another option as opposed to them taking Obamacare or any other program that's out there that's costing them too much money, because the healthcare system is out of control, where we continue to spend money for something that is unnecessary at this time. It's like spending money every single month for something that you don't use, and then when you finally use this product, you're hit with all of these deductibles and everything else. So what happened to the other money that was already put into this fund? What happened to the money that we spent? All of this money over a course of a year, 2 years, 3 years with health insurance, but you didn't get anything for it. But now you have to go to the doctor, and he wants to hit you with a $5,000 bill at the end of the day. But you already spent
$5,000 deductible, and Dr. Michalos was complaining that he had a hard time collecting deductibles.
Absolutely, 100%. And I think that in order for it to get look, let me back up for a second. The President of the United States has the right idea with saying we got to do something about this. If we don't do anything about this, then we just continue to kick the can down the road, hoping that it turns into a ball. It's not going to happen. We have to do something about it. So I think the congressman from Texas was spot on when he talked about being able to have options. We need options here as opposed to it being shoved down our throats. We need to be able to say to my family, okay, let's say for purposes of this discussion, I spend $100 a month for all the health care that I get, prescription drugs, dental, optical, all of these different things, $100 a month. That's $1,200 a year. Why is it that when the person reaches a certain age, it's now $10,000 a year or $5,000 a year or $6,000 a year? Why not just keep it the same way and allow these other individuals and these other unions and all of these other organizations to have people opt into their program? Their program is obviously getting better benefits and better results than the Obamacare that's out there. There are people out there right now, John, that are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a year for a product that they're not even using, and that money's just going to waste. So we have to be better stewards of what we're doing with our finances.
Thank you so much for coming on. Have a great rest of the weekend, and God bless you and God bless America.
God bless you as well. Thank you. See you next week.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Cats Roundtable. We'll be right back right after this break. Welcome back to the Cats Roundtable. With us today is Charlie Gasparino. And Charles, Thanksgiving is over. Monday is December 1. Before you know it, it's January 1 and the new year. And before you know it, you blink your eyes, it's going to be November 2026 where we're going to have midterms.
Yeah, I don't. They obviously they don't look good right now for Trump and for the GOP. I just say, and I know you disagree with some of this, but if you look at any poll number about Trump's approval ratings, where he really stumbles is on the economy. And this is like where he was supposed to be the strongest. I mean, he was supposed to knock it out of the park with the economy. We had a Republican Congress. We had, he had Republicans and pro-growth people, in his administration. They knew that they needed to cut taxes. They knew they needed to hold the line on spending, which they did. They kind of did. They didn't really do enough of it. But they knew they needed to deregulate, which they did. They knew they needed to drill. But then he went and with this diversion of tariffs. And I don't care what anybody says. Those things are impacting right now. And they're impacting in ways that was totally transparent, unless you are listening to Peter Navarro 24/7 and Howard Lutnick. Anybody with half a brain knows that if you sort of price shock certain goods with high tariffs, you're gonna get both an economic slowdown to a certain extent, and you're gonna get inflation, which is exactly what we have right now. Listen, the economy isn't horrible. It's just the wage growth has not kept up with the fact that prices are elevated that he inherited from Biden, and we have elevated inflation at 3%. And therefore, it's largely stuff is almost unaffordable for working class people, and they don't care about the markets. I had this argument with all my friends on the left, during the tariff tantrum when he did his Liberation Day tariffs and the market sold off. This is before he tried to put the genie back in the bottle, which he hasn't. That's one of the problems. That average people. I don't know if Trump is going to lose average people unless this really does lead to an economic have economic consequences beyond the markets. Most people are not in the market, John. It's. I mean, I know you could say police and firemen have pensions and all that. But they don't look at it that way. I go to restaurants. I talk to the bartender. What does he have in his 401k? He's got like $130,000. The average 401k, I believe, is $136,000. The midpoint is $50,000. That's 50% above and 50% below. This market does not really affect the fact that it's going bonkers. Doesn't really, create a wealth effect that you think it does. Not when inflation is still persistent.
The people. Charles, the other thing that President Trump is having fist fights with, Jerome Powell, because he wants interest rates going down. And intentionally, the last time they went down 25 basis points, Jerome Powell said, well, I don't think I'm going to lower them in December. And now he's changed his mind again, which puts the market in a roller coaster. And that's what happened for no reason at all.
John,
oil, I'm in the oil business. Oil is $58 a barrel right now in WTI in the United States. When Trump left office, 52. Under Biden, it was $80, $90, $100 a barrel. So prices are going to come down.
Yeah, but they should have come down already. But what you're not where the logic doesn't match is that if the rich people are spending so much money. Why are wage rates going up? They're not. Wages are not going up.
It takes longer because existing contracts, as they come up.
It shouldn't take longer. You want to know what he should have done? There's two policies that cause inflation: deportations and trade. Right? Pick one. I would have picked deportation. Get rid of all the illegals because we can use a little wage inflation here.
Well,
and by the way, agree, and save tariffs for a later day.
But
what did we get out of this? What do we really get out of this? Are you telling me plants are opening up all over the? I know the president.
That's going to happen over the next year or two because of the backlog.
Not happening. It's not happening, John. John, those agreements or these companies that are touting it have been in place already. This is a sleight of hand, and the problem that the Republicans have, in my view, is they're falling into the Biden trap.
One second, Charlie. We both disagree in a lot of ways. Why don't we go 1 minute each, and then we take a break and we see where we are in January?
Sounds good to me. Go for it.
I think the factor is that oil is going down, gasoline is going down, and interest rates are going to go down. So people are going to be buying cars. People are going to be buying new homes because they couldn't afford 7%, 6.5%, 7% interest rates to buy homes. And I think we're on our way to a great economy. And I think the sun is going to shine for the United States. And tell me where you stand, Charles.
You might be right, but I think you're wrong. And one reason you're wrong is that Jerome Powell doesn't control interest rates. The interest rates are controlled by the market. The interest rate that matters is the 10-year bond, not the Fed funds rate. And that's totally dependent on inflation fears. And if you jawbone Jerome Powell into lowering rates into 3% inflation, you could have a sell-off in the 10-year bond, which will mean higher mortgage rates, higher costs of borrowing for cars. And I think that's one issue. And I think the Trump administration, if they were smart, they would start the new year and enact a pro-growth, pro-supply side agenda that ratchets back tariffs immediately and starts cutting taxes, or at least proposing this sort of stuff, while it does have a Republican Congress. And if they don't do that, the Republicans are going to get their clocks cleaned in next year.
Me and you have to have dinner, have to have a few scotches, and we're going to figure it out for the president.
Sounds good.
Look forward to it, and we'll catch up again real soon.
Thanks, John.
The Cats Roundtable.
With us today is Rabbi Mark Schneier. Rabbi, I understand there was a group of Palestinians attacked your father's synagogue, on Park East Synagogue last week. What happened, and tell us what's going on.
So I can't really speak to what happened in Park East Synagogue. That's my father's congregation. I'm the rabbi here in the Hamptons. But I think my contribution is the fact that the mayor-elect, Zoran Mamdani, reached out to me on Friday on his way to Washington to meet President Trump. The mayor-elect is familiar with my being at the forefront of the building of Muslim-Jewish relations globally. And he called me Friday morning at 11:45. First, he expressed his condemnation of what took place, and I immediately said, I appreciate your condemnation. I find that condemnation to be somewhat half-baked because you added a caveat to your condemnation, where you also accused the synagogue of the misuse of sacred space, hosting Nefesh B'Nefesh, which is the organization out of Israel promoting immigration. And I reminded the mayor-elect that not only, I said to him, not only are you out of touch with the Jewish community, you're out of touch with the greater Muslim world. And because of my engagement with Arab and Muslim leaders around the world, I cited the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, Azerbaijan, UAE, Bahrain, a whole litany of countries that support a two-state solution. They may be championing the need for a Palestinian state, but never at the expense of the Jewish state. And you, Mr. Mayor-elect, you refuse to recognize Israel's right to exist as a Jewish state. And I told Mr. Mamdani that I will never bifurcate anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism, that the demonization of Israel will only lead to attacks on Jews that we witnessed last week, particularly when you use anti-Semitic tropes like genocide, occupation, apartheid. And I challenged him, therefore, John, not from a Jewish perspective, but from a Muslim Islamic perspective. He is out of step with the greater Muslim world today that recognizes the Jewish state of Israel, and he needs to get on the peace train before it's too late.
So you think you made progress, or you think he has his mind made up?
I think he's very much a product of his father's anti-Israel rhetoric, diatribe, if not hatred. That anti-Israel ideology is embedded in him. However, he did say that, I offered to take him on a global tour of all of these Arab and Muslim countries to meet these leaders. And I said, if you don't have the time, let's meet with their ambassadors here in New York. You need to recognize you are out of touch with where the Muslim world is today, and to think the irony that to address the Mamdanis of the world, we may have to turn to the Persian Gulf. We may have to turn to the Caucasus states like Azerbaijan, like Kazakhstan, like Uzbekistan, the great Muslim majority countries, to try to knock some sense into these extremists and Islamic and this Islamic radical behavior, particularly when it comes to the state of Israel.
Do you have hope for New York City?
I have hope because the second part of my conversation, using a colloquial basketball expression, I said to Mr. Mamdani, I have an easy layup for you. When you become mayor, why don't you sponsor legislation that would no longer permit any protest, any demonstration in front of a house of worship in New York City, be it a synagogue, a church, or a mosque? I said, look, I've been a resident of Manhattan, of the Upper East Side, my entire life. And when you look at the United Nations General Assembly Week and you have these global leaders, whether it's Putin, whether it's Abbas, whether it's Netanyahu, whether it's Erdogan, you name it, and they're saying at the Park Lane or at the Regency or at the Waldorf or at the Mark or at the St. Regis, never, but never is a counter demonstration allowed in front of those hotels, in front of those buildings. And I think that's where we need to be when it comes to demonstrations in front of houses of worship. And I must tell you, John, he kept saying, Rabbi, I love that idea. I love that idea. You have my number. Let's continue this conversation. Let's work on this legislation. And he has contacted me several times since that call we had last Friday. Several times.
Well, Rabbi Mark Schneier, thank you for your call Sunday morning. And thank you so much. And let's catch up again real soon.
All right. Thank you, my friend. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Cats Roundtable. We'll be right back right after this break.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso. Gift magical mornings with Nespresso Virtuo Pop. Compact and stylish, Virtuo Pop is made to meet every morning coffee craving. From espresso to coffee, hot or iced, at the click of a button. And celebrate the season with Nespresso's limited edition coffee flavors. Sweet almond and hibiscus, cinnamon and candied tamarind, and festive double espresso. Magic in the making. Shop the holiday gift collection exclusively at Nespresso.com.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here. Wishing you a very happy half-off holiday because right now Mint Mobile is offering you the gift of 50% off unlimited. To be clear, that's half price, not half the service. And Mint is still premium unlimited wireless for a great price. So that means a half day, yeah? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Welcome back to the Cats Roundtable. With us today is Steve Cates, otherwise known as Dr. Sky. Look up in the skies. What are we going to see? What the heck is going on, Steve?
Well, good morning, John. Happy holidays as we move into December here just in a few days. But what's interesting, John, it's quite fascinating. President Trump may have a unique opportunity to reveal to the nation and the world the truth about the UFO situation that's been clouded in mystery for well over 80 years. And here's why. A recent documentary called The Age of Disclosure by Dan Farah opens up people's minds to exactly what might be the source of, this hidden so-called conspiracy, as he interviews 34 government insiders to share opinions about what might indeed be happening. And another book by Michael Mazzola and Kent Bekaliski, the book called Catastrophic Disclosure, my simple point is this, that with all this information coming out, it gives the president this opportunity really to tell us the bottom line. Wouldn't that be amazing if it were true? But many people still wonder if we'll ever hear the truth.
Well, my experience has been that the powers that be, other than the president, would not allow him to do that.
Well, I kind of agree there, John, because if it's been held in secrecy for so long, whether we believe in deep state, CIA, other government agencies, black projects, you're probably right. But I'm saying it does give the president an opportunity, maybe even to shed light, maybe even crack open that door a little bit. But let's be real, John, as you just brought out, common sense might say, no, we'll never hear the truth. But you and I discuss this all the time. And without putting words in your mouth and other people, there's what? Some information that whatever these craft are, if indeed they were captured, they obviously have technology that even works in the realms of anti-gravity. And that would be amazing if we even had that kind of technology. And who knows where it came from.
That technology exists, and we do have it, but I guess we can't use it right now.
Well, John, let's move on, because we've got something here that's very controversial, a plan to block the sun to slow so-called global heating of the atmosphere. This is a project that's under development, a private company called Project Stardust. It's in the realm of solar geoengineering. And Stardust, the company is called Solutions.com.
That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. How do you block the sun? You create a permanent cloud?
Well, John, they want to inject particles into the atmosphere that are reflected. Now, we've been talking here on my regular show. And what are you going to do? Yeah. Breathe that stuff in too? That's another question that has to come up here. But this company claims that they're having particles that are not damaging to humans. But the point is, they're trying to reduce the global sunshine that hits the Earth. And again, I would agree with you. I think that's quite ludicrous and quite, how do I say this? Not only financially something that's not positive, it's certainly something that a lot of people have questions about.
I'm going to give you my answer. They are probably trying to induce some billionaire liberal that this is the right thing to do and sucker them out of money.
But, John, the mystery of the week, here's something fascinating. The question would be, let's talk about some facts about raindrops in the weather realm. Well, John, we've all experienced this. After a dry spell, rain is odorless, except when rain hits dry land after a dry spell. So the technology or the actual answer to this, what is that odor? It's called petrichor, and it comes from two Greek words, petros for rock, and ichor, the mythological fluid in the veins of the ancient gods. So we all think back, John, after a dry spell, that smell that we're getting, because humans have a very perceptive nose for this, it's simply called petrichor, some of the mysteries that we probably don't know about. And something else we find out.
No, I don't understand it. In other words, the rain that comes back down again has that smell?
Well, no, it doesn't. It interacts, John, with particles in the ground, little microbes that are in the ground. And that combination of water and the release of some of these little particles, little molecules, little bacteria, nothing dangerous, just creates this ability for humans and maybe even animals to smell this. But what's even more fascinating, John, what
I tell our listeners is our creator. Human beings need water. The animals need water. The same water we have today was available 1 billion years ago. It's the same water. And
recycled all the time.
The cleansing factor that our creator created was the water evaporates and comes back cleansed.
Yes, it does, John. And something else that people may not be aware of, all rain starts as snow. And that whole process of melting, the obvious evaporation, and the whole cycle continues, cleansing, as you say, back to the earth. So it's interesting that ancients may have found water by detecting this smell, because where the smell came from was obviously induced by areas of heavy concentration of water. Now, here's another interesting thing people may not know. John, some places in Antarctica never see rain. Why is that? Because it's the driest deserts in the entire world. Doesn't that sound strange? You'd think the Sahara Desert or Arizona deserts, Death Valley and areas would be the lead. But some places in Antarctica never, ever see rain. And, John, here's another factoid. A 1-inch amount of rain spread out over 1 acre of land, John. This is a tiny little water area over some 42,000 plus square feet. John, it weighs 100 tons. So the point is, Mother Earth has this cleansing ability. Water is so essential. And if you took the amount of water, John, that's really available to us, fresh water, you could ball it up into an area, some say the size of the state of Texas, and that goes for the whole Earth. What an amazing planet, John, don't you think? Always talking about these realms, astronomy, space, aviation, and weather. And privilege and honor, John, to have you permit me to be behind the microphone for the Dr. Sky Experience every weekend. Thank you.
Well, you're on every weekend, Friday night or Saturday morning, midnight to 2, and Saturday night, Sunday morning, midnight to 2.
Opening our minds to the mysteries of the universe, John. The privilege and honor, and we wish everybody the best of a great Sunday, and as we move into the holidays, a beautiful and joyous and healthy holiday season. Thank you so much.
The Cats Roundtable.
Like every Sunday, we have John Terry to give us the pulse of what happened to the markets this week.
Thank you, John. Good morning. I hope you had a very pleasant Thanksgiving with your family. Now, the New York markets, as you know, were open for only half a day on Black Friday, last Friday, between 9:30 and 1 p.m. And they kind of do that really as a courtesy to retail and consumer spending that may be going on because it is Black Friday. Actually, I think they are mandated to open a little bit. Nobody wants to be in there, of course, on Black Friday morning, but they have to. I will tell you there's about an 80% bet going on Wall Street at the moment that there will actually be a rate cut coming up in December. So the march towards Dow 50,000 30,000 that you and I keep talking about seems to be going on and on. I will also say that there are some people on Wall Street who wonder what there is to stimulate the market between now and January, apart from that rate cut, if it actually happens. Still, things are not looking too bad. I mean, the Nasdaq and the S&P are up more than 20% for the year so far. Pretty extraordinary. Now, also extraordinary, on Friday we had the futures market knocked out. It happened on Thanksgiving Day and Friday morning, so there were no futures when we first turned up on Thursday morning. Something went wrong, an outage at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. Luckily, it was a low-volume day, of course. Otherwise, it could have been a lot more complicated and upsetting. Company news, John Deere, the tractor and combine harvester people, they gave us their earnings on Wednesday before Thanksgiving. The shares were down about 6% because there were signs that the farming recovery is in some doubt. Cryptocurrency story of the week, JP Morgan Chase in New York debanked. They debanked a crypto boss. He's the boss of Strike. Now, all JP Morgan Chase is legally obliged to tell us is that there were concerning activities, so we don't know any more than that. And NVIDIA, the company in the forefront of the AI chip development, worries dominating Wall Street that they may not be able to dominate that particular sector for much longer after a report that Mark Zuckerberg's Meta Platforms is about to do a multi-billion, if not trillion-dollar deal with Google to buy their AI chips. John, finally, in the week ahead, inflation data, construction data, and jobs at the end of the week, Friday the 5th, we're going to get the November jobs report. Do you remember the week before last on Thursday, we had the delayed September jobs report? I think they're skipping October altogether, and they're going to give us the November ones. But that will be next Friday, the 5th of December.
Have a nice rest of the weekend, and we'll catch up with you next week.
Yeah, thank you, John. Thanks very much.
Thank you for being with us for the Cats Roundtable Local Edition, the #1 show on Sunday mornings in New York. Keep listening to us for the Cats Roundtable National Edition between 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock. So we'll be back to you in a few minutes after the news.